The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
1420 Sports Bar Podcast, for beer of sports talk and a whole lot more. Join host Brent and Aaron as he bellies up to the bar and gets the conversation going that'll make you think you're sitting in your local watering hole. It's sports, beer, and shenanigans, so sit back, grab a few beers, and let's get into it. All right, the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast, the morning shift, episode 1. Today's show is brought to you by SeatGeek.com, the SeatGeek app. Use promo code 1420SEAT over there at SeatGeek.com and save yourself $20 on your first purchase. Remember, we're part of the Belly Up Media Network. Go to bellyupsports.com for all their great articles. And thanks, everybody, who listens, subscribes, watches, and all this stuff. Today, we're, not today, it's going to be every Tuesday from here on in, if we can both get ourselves out of bed and keep the illnesses away, I guess. Aaron from Brutally Honest Sports to talk a little bit about the upcoming big game. Aaron, how you doing, sir?
Yeah, no, I appreciate your patience with me there as a couple. It's just a lot of BS going on, but yeah, I'm glad to be here and always appreciate joining the boys from up north, right? Like, it's always a good time. We've been at this thing for a couple of years now, so I'm excited to get into it. It's last football game of the year, so yeah, excited to get into it.
It can't come soon enough for me. All the hoo-ha and everything else that goes along with the football season, and it's kind of funny. Like I was on one of these podcasts way back in, I think it was even August when they first started talking about the football season, how the previews and blah, 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 why anybody would give a crap what I have to say about it, but people do for some reason. But there was a bunch of these guys, just prognosticators and part-timers and everything else saying that, well, this team could do it and this team could do it and this team could win. And I said, what are we even talking about here? Until somebody beats Patrick Mahomes, he's the best quarterback in the league. They got the best coach in the league, and they've won the last two. What are we even doing talking about this? And here we are, the X amount of months later, and here it is, the Patrick Mahomes show once again.
Yeah, exactly. My thing is, can they and not to jump ahead, but can they do it next year? If we're already looking that far, because it's even if let's say they lose on this Sunday, which that's definitely I don't know. We'll get into how we feel about that, but it's going to the Bills. I think the Bills were the only team to go to 4 straight, and obviously they didn't even win any of them early 90s there. So you're exactly in the AFC. I thought maybe this year Buffalo, I gave them a 50, maybe a 50-50 shot. I still, gun to my head, I'm going to take Kansas City, but the way Buffalo is looking, it's just nobody can take them out in the AFC. It's just nobody can figure it out.
Well, I held my thoughts about that AFC Championship game for about a week. I let it all digest a little bit, and I don't know if people who listen to the show I did on Saturday, or watched on YouTube, whatever it might be, but it was bad optics, and there was some calls that did go the Chiefs' way. There is no getting around that. And there were some calls that went against Buffalo. Most important, the one that was real glaring to me, wasn't so much the Allen rush in the fourth quarter trying to gain an inch, which I don't know if I would do it the way they did it, but the non-reception in the second quarter,
Mm-hmm.
That's when things got a little bit fishy for me, because to me, I don't know if we've even talked about this, but I want to get your thoughts on it. To me, that wasn't even a catch, but by the way it played out. And then, because when the play happened live and everything, I thought, okay, that's an interception. And then when they saw the replay that it hit the ground, to me, that was cut and dried. What were your thoughts when you saw that? And you must have been like, oh, geez, the fix is in. And there's conspiracies abound. What was your thoughts when you saw that?
Oh, that was Bush League call. I thought, I just, the fact that he never really even, the Bills guy had it for, 80% of the play. And then as they're going to the ground, he's reaching over to that was just horrible. I thought, for sure, the Bills got shafted on that, and it's a key moment in the game, and that's momentum swing. That's one of those calls where it's impossible to watch the Chiefs and to not think they get more calls than the other team. I just, if people are living in a bubble, that's up to them, and they can deny it. It's not even that my team's playing them this week. If it was whoever, the Lions were going to go play the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, I'd say the same thing. I don't know. I remember the Patriots having somewhat similar, optics as this. This is probably worse, but they don't have the scandals, so you kind of grade it with a curve, I guess. The two dynasties there, but I don't know. It's game in and game out. I see it, and it's not so much like second quarter. Sometimes it's like fourth quarter, 3 minutes left. There's the call that they get right in time for them to. I that's my opinion. People are gonna rip me apart, for saying the NFL. I'm not gonna say it's completely like scripted, but they get more calls than any other team in crucial moments. I see them get calls more times than not.
It seems that the calls do go their way, but it's also if you go on the other side of things, teams that are very well coached, they don't take a lot of penalties because like when well coached teams just don't do that. They're more disciplined. They don't do dumb things. Like
Right.
there are ticky tack calls that go one way or the other, and referees, I guess, and officials they feel swayed. Um, because they feel like they got to call something sometimes, right? Because they just, especially, I think in football, especially because you could call holding every play if you really wanted to. You could call some stupid guy downfield by an inch if you wanted to. Like you could call if you wanted to. And it just seems like sometimes officials in football make themselves part of the game because a lot of times their flag is tattooed to their pocket, and then they just make these calls at inopportune times just to let their presence be known, I guess. And it's like you hate to with like the dynasty thing. A lot of stuff has to go your way to win one, let alone two. Then they're going for three. Like to talk about dynasties a little bit here. Like when the Yankees were winning 4 and 5 years, and then you go back 100 years when the Edmonton Oilers were winning Stanley Cups, and you had the Pittsburgh Penguins winning Stanley Cups, and the Detroit Red Wings. A lot has to go your way for that to happen. Why is there? It seems to me there's a disdain for people winning dynasties, and they come up. People come up with these conspiracy theories more often. Why teams win so many, and compared to why teams lose so many.
I think to go on your first point there, why do people hate it? I see. I was a big like for me. It depends on the player, the team, the coach, that type. Like I don't absolutely hate the Chiefs. I mean, I'm over the whole like Taylor Swift thing. Like, not that I it's not like I hate her personally. It's just I'm over the NFL kind of just pumping it constantly to just because it's all it's a money game. Like that's all I'm tired. Like they make so much money that they have to just like if Taylor Swift wasn't there, they'd bring somebody else in, or like it's just I don't
That's
know.
just like it's just her because like if the Chiefs weren't playing, she wouldn't be there, right?
Right. It's
Like
a
they'd
it's a
have
circus
somebody
show.
else's
Yeah.
girlfriend, somebody else's whatever. They put another celebrity up in the stands. Like you remember the
Right.
one Super Bowl, I can't remember what year it was, but when they had Cameron Diaz sitting up in the stands with A-Rod and she was feeding him popcorn. They're gonna
Yeah.
find a way to put the camera on somebody.
Yeah,
So
and
it doesn't matter. Like it's
right. It's not like I'm just out here like
yeah,
whatever I feel about like whatever. She's indifferent to me. I don't like have these people that just have this all out hatred for her, whether it be like for whatever views she has. That's up to you. Like I just I don't have a reason to like absolutely despise her. Right. It's just like the NFL has turned into like a soap opera to a certain extent, and I get what they're doing. They want to get younger girls that don't care about football. Oh, there's Taylor Swift. Like I get the whole
yeah.
idea around it. Just the Chiefs thing is just like it's the media's fault more than anything that makes people hate them. I think and made the Patriots like hated so much because it's just nonstop Chiefs, right? Like it's if you turn on ESPN, in April when baseball's on, they'll talk about the Chiefs. Like it's just they don't ever let it go. I think that's the reason why a lot of people just get sick and tired of it. I don't like dynasty. I mean, if it was my team, I wouldn't complain. Like Brent, I'm
Yeah.
sure when the Yankees were ripping off chips, you
Oh,
you you didn't hate that, but it's I don't know. I do get tired of it to a certain extent just because it's the same old. Like especially if I was a fan of like an AFC team, I would be probably irate just because it was the Patriots in the AFC for so long, and now it's the Chiefs in the AFC. Like you just got to go through one of them all the time, but you got to beat the best to be the best. But yeah, it's more so. I just think the social media part of it, the networks, like they absolutely pump this stuff up until they can't anymore. So
Yeah, I don't know if it's just the cheeks. I mean, if it was like people were sick because I got sick of the Brady thing and the Patriots and you kind of just like, okay, I get it. Yeah, you're great. Yeah, it's like the guy who always gets the girl in high school or whatever. Like, okay, yeah, you're great, right on. I like cool. So it's just maybe like not a. I don't want to go as far as saying a jealousy thing, but it's like okay, like it's just you get over it a little bit. But like you when you get a little bit older as I am now, and you look back and you go, "Holy cow, man, that's kind of impressive." Like the Yankees, their dynasty is almost 30 years ago now, right? Like really, and people are still mad about that for some reason. And that's the one I don't really understand is that the Yankees were really bad in the early 90s and in the 80s, and then they ran off four in 5 years, and they were in the playoffs every year, and then they didn't win again until 2009. And people still like they really haven't done much of anything. They won the four in 40 years, and like everybody's all effing Yankees. Like it's okay, well they're not that good. It's just funny how people have this disdain, and then you look at the Patriots thing, how everybody hated them, and now you look back and people are like, oh man, Brady, he was pretty good. Like the hindsight is 2020 when it comes down to it, because everybody's going to go back and go, that Mahomes was all right. Like when you're telling your kids about it, and people like reading up on him. If people will there'll be books around within 30 years, but it's funny how you look back on these things and you go, maybe I should have appreciated a little bit more than looking for the negatives of something and embrace it a little bit. You're not going to cheer for the team, but go back, you go and say, wow, like these guys were good. Because I remember when the Oilers were winning Stanley Cups here in Alberta back in the day, and like Edmonton's a little bit further north than Calgary, and everybody just not everybody, but there was a good percentage of hockey people who hated Wayne Gretzky back then. People hate Gretzky now for a different reason, but whatever. It's like you didn't embrace it as much, and people and you look back and you go, holy Christ, was this guy good? And now, is that going to happen? You think of more when this Mahomes era is done, because they're not going to win forever. But are people going to go, huh? This guy was pretty good.
I do think so. I think to a certain extent they do it already. I just like when it was Brady, right? It was like the goat, the goat, the goat. It's just day after day after day, and like I told, like you're exactly right. Like we should appreciate it more. I just for me it becomes nauseating at like how frequent they have to just say he's the best. Like
Mm-hmm.
we get that. Like everybody that watches football knows that. You know what I mean? That's that.
People
Like
who don't watch football know it.
yeah, that's my thing. Like I'm not afraid to tip my cap. Like if the Eagles had Mahomes, I'd probably be one of those people that doesn't shut up about it. But it's just like they just constantly have to pump it up. That's really where the only problem I have with it. Like yeah, I'll admit he's the best and things like that's no problem at all. It's just I think football fans in general, if your team's not winning, you kind of have somewhat of a jealousy factor or like a hatred. Like for me, it's like Ohio State's the golden example for me, because in college they're always good. They're never not like they never have a bad season. So it just gets it's a team I don't like to begin with, so that probably adds fuel to the fire. But they just every year it's the same. It's that they're going to be there, and it's just like damn it. Like, can you just be like, I've seen Penn State win 6-7 games a year at times. I've seen, they come up short in every big game I ever watch them. Like, it is a jealousy thing, but it is like, come on, man. Why do you guys always have to get yours? That's where I'm at with it. So.
See, that's the thing, Aaron. Like it's not Ohio State's fault. It's
No.
not Kansas City's fault. It's not, well, the Dodgers have won. It's not their fault. Like it's not their fault that they win. And it's okay. The other teams just got to get better. We've talked about it before. Like like we were talking baseball, when a team's close and they're licking the jar and they got a chance, get a little bit better. Like get a little bit better. Like the Bills and Chiefs game came down to one possession. If Kincaid catches that ball in the fourth quarter on that scramble, they kick a field goal minimum. Game's tied. Never know what could happen. But he didn't. Like all this conspiracy crap and everything that everybody's mad about. If Kincaid catches one ball, if they don't do that stupid reacher, like trying to gain 1 inch, and you can't gain an inch. Was the spot wonky? Maybe, but don't leave it in the referee's hands. Be better.
Mm-hmm.
If honestly, if Kincaid just catches that ball, the Bills probably win. Whose fault is that? Is that Kansas City's fault? Nope. Not at all.
No.
Like, it's not. Is that the referee's fault? Nope. And so, like, you can blame everybody you want. You can have all these conspiracy theories. Be better. Make that one play, and that's what championship teams do at every level. Like, you want to, like, even you go back to the World Series this year. If Aaron Judge catches up that little pop up, who knows? But he didn't. So is that the Dodgers' fault that they spent $300 million on one or $700 million on one guy because Aaron Judge dropped a fly ball? No, it's the Yankees' fault for blowing it because they would have went to Game 6, and who knows what could have happened. So it's like, all these people who piss and moan about these dynasties, they just make the plays when they have to happen. They score goals when they have to happen. They make field goals when they have to happen. How many field goals have we watched in the playoffs? That a lot. There's been a lot of bad kickers. Not that guy in Baltimore. He's a bad kicker for a whole different reason. But holy cow!
Yeah, I didn't see that one coming.
Wow, because he's supposed to be this upstanding guy, and he's out in front of the media and the best kicker in NFL history. And yeah. Anyways, but yeah, so like it's just, you really got to watch where you're pointing your finger at all this other stuff, because they just make plays. Do they get calls? Yeah, but then like you get that little benefit of the doubt sometimes. It's I don't think it's anyone's fault that they make plays and they don't take penalties. Like
yeah, and I don't want to sound like making excuses either, because like that Kincaid play was just. If I'm Josh Allen though, I'm probably punching that guy in the face at this point, because like that sounds ridiculous, but it's like how close is like that guy to me? Like I always look at Lamar and like I think he comes up short in big games. Now this year, I mean, he had him right there. Even though the mistakes early, he had him right there against Buffalo, and then freaking Andrews drops the ball. So. But if I'm Josh Allen, like mentally, I don't know how much. I mean, I get it. These guys make millions of dollars. Like their off the field lives are pretty damn great. I can assume, but between the ears, man, like it's just like you go up against. And I get it. You got to be better, but sometimes it's like that guy. It seems like he does absolutely everything, and he just like it comes down to something like that. And it's like if I'm across the field, if I'm looking at Mahomes, I'm sitting there as Josh Allen. I'm like, dude, what's it going to take at this? Like, it just feels like it's, you know what I mean? Like, this is 4 or 5 straight years of this. Like, and I'm not saying it's all on his teammate. Like, it's not all on Kincaid. They could have made other plays. But, like, I just don't know how you suck it up and say, yeah, they were the better team. They were the better team. Like, year after year after, when you put them right there and the guy, you put it right in his breadbasket, and it's just, nope. Like, that's hard to swallow. I give him credit because he handles it a hell of a lot better than I would have. That's all.
Like, I was watching that game and I was very underwhelmed with the Buffalo Bills. I was overwhelmed about how great Allen was. Like, he was doing everything.
That's
he was rushing and guys on his back and doing whatever he could possibly do. Couldn't gain that 1 inch, but whatever. But it's like it was Josh Allen versus the Kansas City Chiefs.
Absolutely.
The rest of the team, I didn't even like. They were fortunate to be in that game. Fortunate, in my opinion. And so that, and that they were that close, and one guy, and you can blame one guy because winning is so damn hard. I say it all the time. Winning is so hard, and and you get down to that one mistake, championship teams don't make that mistake. They make that catch. They get that scramble. You go back to, geez, it's been 15 years already. Eli, that scramble he made, and whatever his name, Tyree made that catch. See, that's how you win championships. That's how you beat championship teams. And the Bills didn't do it. And that's basically what it came down to. Like, I think it's that simple. It's actually that simple.
Yeah. No, it is. And that's the thing. Like you say, it was Josh Allen against the Chiefs. Like, and we always make it about the quarterback. If we don't even talk about guys on the O-line, if they didn't do their job, quarterback. But at the end of the day, you just felt like he had to will that team to like be there, to begin with. They lose Diggs in the offseason. Like, they're not, everybody's writing them off. Like, everybody was saying the Bill, and that they come back better than they have been, basically. And then for them to come up that short again, it's just, I mean, Bills fans too, like that. You talk about going through it. It's, you go to 4 straight Super Bowls in the 90s, you lose all 4. Now you're right up against the Chiefs every year. You don't get it. It's just,
what do you do?
Yeah, I don't know if you. That's the thing. Like, I get in some arguments with Penn State fans all the time because, it's James Franklin, he's good. Look how we're this close. We're this close. Wait, well, what's it matter if we're this close for 10 years? People are afraid to make change when it's you're knocking on the doorstep. But if you don't make the change, how are you going to know if you ever get in the door? That's the thing. Like, not saying you got to pull the plug every 3 years. Like some of these franchises, like fire coaches every 3 years, whether it be the NHL, NFL, whatever. But sometimes it's like the Bills. I mean, are they going to, this coach, they've had him the entire tenure. Like, I don't know. He hasn't proven he can beat them. So how good is he? Like, he's good, but is he great? That's the thing. It's just.
Like, you just wonder if it is a coaching change that has to be made. If you're that close and you're just every year we're this close, and you want, like you talked about Lamar Jackson earlier on. Why does Harbaugh get a pass in Baltimore? He's got one of the best quarterbacks of all time, and hasn't done a damn thing with him. Nothing. Like, really? Like, yeah, you win, you get to this championship game, you make the playoffs, but what's that? What's that?
My thing though with him is he one of the best all time from a stat perspective? Because like in big games, he's the guy that you want on your fantasy football team, but he's not the guy. Like, you could argue Eli Manning sucked most of he wasn't good that much. But then if he got you to the playoffs, even Flacco, the same team, you're talking about the Ravens there.
Yeah.
Flacco would flip a switch when the playoffs. It's just some guys like Nick Foles when the Eagles made that Super Bowl run. Like, they wrote him off. Like Lamar, it's everything's good until when they have Derrick Henry, they have this, they have that. Like I have so many Baltimore fans near me, and they will forever make every excuse for that guy. And I'm an Eagles fan. I have very low patience for losing, so it's the opposite end of the spectrum. But they won't blame him. They'll say, well, Mark Andrews should have caught it. Well, this, that. Lamar had 2 really bad turnovers in that game. So I don't get it. Like, he's electric. He's unstoppable at times. But when you need him to win a game, like, go win me a game today, I don't trust him. He hasn't proven he can. So how can you?
It's such a man. It's such a funny thing. Hey, everybody talks about we'll get you dominate the line. Yeah, don't take it. Yeah. But if your quarterback, and now if you have a mobile quarterback, you have a good chance to win. Like you had the Commanders. You had their guy this year out of nowhere, out of college. All of a sudden, we have a chance to win. So basically, if your quarterback's mobile and you have a pretty good chance to win. And so it's just getting that next level, because this whole, like, the NFL, I get a kick out of you guys because, like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I think it's entertaining, but it's not the X amount like everybody says it is. It's popular because it's popular at some point. But like, we'll get into this weekend's game a little bit here. But at the end of the day, I think that this whole thing comes down to two people: Saquon Barkley and Patrick Mahomes, and whichever one's better, that's who's going to win this game. I think it's that simple.
I do, but like my only pushback on that, I totally agree with you with Mahomes. Like, that's indisputable. I think Jalen Hurts has to be not good. I think he has to be. I mean, the last time they played them in the Super Bowl, he
can't make mistakes.
Yeah, he can't make he outgunned Mahomes in the last one, which nobody would ever think that, right? Like, that's just. But that crucial fumble he made I think it was in the third quarter, that was the start of the downfall. Like, he kicks the ball around, Chiefs get it. Like, it was just ugly, right? And it was just like, whoa, like, okay, now we got to kind of reel ourselves back in mentally, because you give them any room for error, like you put the ball on the ground, it's like shit. Now you can't afford to with that team. So I think I'm with you with Mahomes. I think Barkley, as long as he isn't be below his average, like he averages 100 yards a game. So as long as he gives you that and makes plays, which I expect him to. I really think the X factor is Hurts, though, because if he's good, if he's okay to good, they don't win this game. If he's good to borderline great, I think they can win this game. And I trust the Eagles defense. They've been there all year. That's the one thing that back in 22, they didn't have a defense like this, and their defensive coordinator was a complete idiot. So I just think that is crucial too. I mean, the Chiefs with Spagnuolo, he can scheme up everything too. So I fear that he's a guy that he brings a lot of different things at you that you don't expect. So every time we have to play them, that's a bad situation to be in as well. But I still think it's going to come down to Jalen Hurts for me. Like if he plays good, like pretty good, I think they win. If he turns the ball over, they're shot. Like that's
that's the funny thing. Like me and you were sitting here on Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, and we just said everything that ESPN's going to take a week and a half to say. Right? Like it's ESPN's the battle of the trenches and don't turn the ball over. Yeah, no shit. Right? Like yeah, I get it. Okay, so it's actually like that. And that's why I say like this battle of the trenches. And if you have a mobile quarterback, like if your guy isn't open or and he can scramble and gain you 5 yards out of nothing, that's where games are won. And all the other stuff is fluff, right? Like take less penalties, yeah. Like yeah, don't do yeah. But if your quarterback can move a little bit on both for both teams, that's the secret to the game. And like I said earlier, that's the only reason why the Bills were in that game last week because the quarterback can move a little bit. And if there was nothing, he made something out of nothing a lot of times, and that's all the NFL's come down to now. The most athletic quarterback usually wins, and the most athletic quarterback for how many years now has been one guy, and that's Patrick Mahomes. Makes something out of nothing a lot.
Right? Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think you can argue like Lamar might be the most athletic, but he doesn't make the most plays, right? Like Mahomes is probably a couple knocks down from athletic from a running sense, but he can make every throw and be athletic. So like yeah, you mold a perfect quarterback, like that's what you want. Like, you want the guy that like not only can he run all over the place to a certain extent, it's he'll throw a guy open where like nobody thinks he's going to be open. So it's a tough and Mahomes has been running more and more, which is another. Now you talk about the mobile quarterback thing. That's been like the last probably 5 or 6 years where it's like everybody's mobile now almost. Like you look around the league, like I mean, very, very seldom do you see a guy like a Brady that's like a pocket passer. Like that just doesn't really. That's not the trend. It's just not the trend anymore. So
Yeah, if you had a kid, I don't know, 20 or 18, 20 years old or 10 that's just getting going in football and then have them watch some old tapes in the 80s and the 90s when the Dan Marinos and the Joe Montanas of the world just plop themselves into the pocket and just I'm not rushing, like I'm not going anywhere. Like I think there was I can't remember when it was, but I was laughing about looking at Marino's stats. He had 1 year he had -1 rushing yards. Like you would never ever, like the way the game's played now, you would never have anything like that, right? Because like you barely have running backs anymore. Like the quarterbacks don't do it all, right? And so it's funny to see how the game is transformed in just like you said the last 5 years. But you want to go back even further, go back 20 to 30 years, like, oh, holy Christ, how did anybody ever win back then? Like it's just
Well, yeah, that's like everybody was doing, like just like how we see it now. Everybody's running, like everybody was a pocket passer. I mean, even like my generation growing up, where it was like, I mean, Big Ben was he was like an outlier because he would just like run over people. But there was like Phillip Rivers never left the pocket, Drew Brees never left them. Both Mannings never
yeah.
left the pocket. Like Brady, the list goes on and on and on and on there. So. I mean, you had your like Michael Vicks and stuff like that came in, but yeah, now it's weird that like almost everybody is like that though. That's my thing is like, I mean, I guess like Herbert and like Trevor Lawrence, there's a couple guys that don't, but I mean, overwhelming majority, like you said, they're almost like running. Like you watch Josh Allen and the hits he takes, I'm like, man, like you're paying that guy a lot of money to just get, I mean, smacked around all like Lamar, Jalen Hurts, even Mahomes. I mean, well, they kind of don't let him get away with some things there, but he, those guys are getting tagged a lot. So it's like, I don't know. I'll be curious to see how these guys hold. Like, is Josh Allen going to play till 38 even? I don't know. He's taking a lot of, he's a big dude, but all those hits add up, it's like, it's just one of those things.
And it's that I agree with you, Aaron, 100% on that. Like it's like and now these guys make so much money, right? Like because there was a guy a few years back. He just said the heck. Oh, Andrew Luck. He just
Mhm.
said, what the heck? I'm taking a beat, and I got hundreds of millions in the bank. I'm good. Like I'm out because if these guys were but if they're only making five a year, right? You got to play for 10, 15, 20 years to make that into how much money, right? Now these guys are making 50 a year or 40, whatever it might be. Play for 3 years, and you go, you know what? My back hurts, my head hurts, I can't even tie my shoes anymore. I'm out. I can't sustain this. So you wonder, and we talked about it before too. Like these guys who make all this money, and yes, you have to pay them, but do you? Because their lifespan can't be that good because now they're asked to be so much more athletic, and they're asked to do things that other guys didn't have to do to do back then. We just talked about Marino not having negative yards in a year, but how many times did he get like hammered? Like if he took a sack, it was basically curl up like a ball on the field, and guys would land on top of him. Like they weren't getting leveled like they are now. Like it's just a different game. So you wonder like how much, like you said with Allen, like how long is that sustainable? Like it just like the beating these guys take, and it's every sport, but not, well, maybe not basketball, or baseball. So it's not every sport. Like you just wonder with the amount of money that they're paying this guy, can they keep doing it? Because yeah, I don't know. Like it just seems to be a slippery slope for these owners and GMs. Like you have to pay it, but do you? Because now you're getting kids right out of college. Like who, I can't remember the kid's name that was Washington's quarterback. Slipping my mind.
Penix?
Nope, the one this year.
Oh, Jane Daniels. Yeah.
Daniels, right? So he's 1 year out of college, and look what he did already. So do you have to pay these guys $40 million? Because you get a guy right out of college doing the same thing.
I wonder how sustainable. I mean, obviously, like the Mahomes don't grow on trees, but like if you almost ran it like similar to a college program, like if you
cycle.
Yeah, like every 4 years you're just drafting another core. Like I don't know the percentage at what you'd hit. Like maybe 1 out of 4 would be decent. Like that's the thing. Like I mean, you see. I mean, the Giants. How many bad quarterbacks have the Giants? The Bears have never really had a good. Even when they won a Super Bowl, they didn't have they were known for their defense and Walter Payton. Like at the fridge and stuff like that. Like it was, it wasn't because of the quarterback. Like and the way the game's trending, you just almost need a good like the Steelers. They haven't figured out a good quarterback. Hopefully Jim listens to this and gives us 2 cents on that. But I'm sure he'll agree. Like
I'm sure he will, regardless, whatever. Now, but
he he said it on his show. I listened to his last one there. Like, you just can't replacing Big Ben is I mean, they haven't done it. So it's, they've tried the whole veteran thing that hasn't worked, bringing Russell Wilson. Kenny Pickett, unfortunately, was a flop. I like the kid, but he just hasn't panned out. Like it's just so hard to find it's not super hard to find a mid-level, like a Kirk Cousins quarterback, but that doesn't win you shit. And that's what doesn't make sense to me is like the Falcons go out and they spend $40 million a year on Kirk Cousins because they think they're somewhat close, but like that guy's been on elite teams in Minnesota and they've won nothing. So it's like, why would you go out and spend that money knowing that guy is like, I just don't understand why people will hang on to these certain guys and like think they're going to lead them to the promised land, where like Sam Darnold, even like he had a good season. But do you trust that guy to lead?
How would you trust him?
Like, is he the guy to get? Like, is he going to go beat Mahomes ever? Like that. That's the thing. Like, I get it. It takes a whole team. Like, I think if you put Jalen,
I don't think it does anymore.
Well,
like you're a couple of players here and there, and like, all right, yeah. I know you need the offensive lineman and left tackle. Like, I know, I get it.
Yeah,
but but having that elite guy supersedes having the guy. Okay, whatever. We got a plug back here.
That's the tough part. Yeah, you're not wrong. It's like with Jalen Hurts. If you put him on a crappy, if you put him on the Steelers, I don't know if he's that good. He's got every weapon under the sun. He's got a great offensive. Like he's primed to be in a great position. I'm not saying he's not good, but he's fortunate to be in the position he is because the O-line's great, the receiving core is great. You have Saquon. Like you couldn't ask for more. Is what I'm saying. For some of these guys, like you're just like that Caleb Williams in Chicago. I mean, good luck. Like you have no offensive line. The receivers are drama queens and everything. Like you're working with garbage, and then you don't have a coach. Like it's the NFL is like you have to have everything unless you're like Mahomes. Then you can overcome deficiencies. But if you're not that level, you have to like look at Allen. It's every year. It's this. You're this close. Like he's damn good, but you're not. I don't know. You just can't. You need everything almost to go your way.
Like in the last, well, they're on this 5 or 6 year run now. The Chiefs are, and yeah, there's been a couple of close calls. But if you're a bottom feeder, what are you doing spending? Like, because you're not gonna you got to have some intellectual honesty or internal honesty with yourself. Thinking, why am I giving a quarterback $40 million? Giving a receiver this much, giving a run, well, they don't give running backs that much, but you know what I'm getting at is like we're not beating them, like we're just not. So why am I, as an owner, spending this much money? Like, what am I doing? Because I got my TV contracts, I got this, whatever. Like, what? Like, we're not winning. Like, we're just not good enough because we talked about it in baseball and other sports too, where you could go right now. Spring training starts or pitcher and catcher, I think, in a week and a half from now. We could go through the whole the MLB roster and say they're not winning, they're not winning, they're not winning, they're not winning. And it's a different beast because it's just a lack of funding and talent. But for some teams, but with the National Football League, where it is pretty close, you can say, okay, most teams are going to be 9-8, 10, 11-6, whatever it might be. But it's like we're not beating these guys. So why am I spending this kind of money?
That's my thing too. Like I don't know. This the Steelers when they went and got Russell Wilson, I was just like I understand, like, from a financial standpoint, they didn't really have to spend anything. The Broncos were paying him. But it's like, when you rather, like, if I'm them, okay, you go and get him, I would still draft a quarterback or something. Like, these teams, like the Steelers, for example, they never planned for the future after Ben. Like, it's been like they thought Pickett was going to be the guy. Sure, that was a risk they took and missed. But like the Packers, like I get on that show with my buddy Trage all the time. The Packers kind of like they'll have Aaron Rodgers. They draft Jordan Love. He sits there 3 years. He's the next guy. Like, I don't know why these teams, like, they'll draft a guy at number 1 and the team will be hot garbage, right? They have no offensive line, like the Bears. This is what the Bears did. No O-line. Like, how are you supposed to inspire the next, like, Caleb Williams? How is he supposed to develop when there's just it's a shit show everywhere you look? Like, they don't know what they're doing on offense. They have no O-line. He's getting smacked. He's getting knocked around constantly. The game's a lot faster at the NFL level. Like, I just, like you said, I mean, I don't know why. Why would you even go for a Kirk Cousins unless you can get him for the cheap? And the $40 million a year is not, like, what is that? Like, you're just burning money to burn money. And, like, sure, if you wanted him to coach up the next guy, but, like, I mean, sure, he might know some things, but it's not worth the price of $40 million a year.
Yeah, like you talk about the Steelers, and I'm sure Jim will pop off about this for sure. I appreciate his
ruffle his feathers a little bit.
Yeah, got to ruffle his. It takes anything to get him ruffled up and riled up in the morning. But like, you just wonder why they stick with the same coaching staff, and it just never changes. Like, they're eventually, like, you have to kind of bottom out to get up to somewhere. I mean, I don't totally agree with falling down to the bottom of the pile and it being number 35 in a 32 team league. I don't much believe in that, but if it hasn't worked, and when do you stop going back to the well and go, you know what, maybe it's time for a change? Because sometimes change is just as good as everything else. Because if you're not winning, and you're only here, you got okay, now we're just hoping to insert a piece here. And if you don't get because they're close, but how close are they? Because it's just not like with Tomlin. It's just, okay, well, we're here again. This is where we are. And then, so you finish middle of the pack, and what do you get? Middle of the pack guy. Like, unless you get a top 5 guy, or you find a diamond in the rough that wasn't supposed to pan out. If you're not a top 5 guy, you might as well be a 3rd rounder or a 4th rounder or whatever it might be. So it's like, okay, what are we doing? Like, we're sometimes there has to be some honesty and say we're just not good enough, and we have to try to do something different. I think the NFL and the NHL are pretty similar that way, where you go, well, this is what we are. Yeah, we're a playoff team, but what's that get us? A game? Like a game? The Pittsburgh got one more game. Like, so, and what's that? Nothing. It's nothing.
I forget this. I mean, we're not a stat show here, but I think it was like 7 or 8 years since they've won a playoff game. Like, and
Yeah.
they're in it like they have a winning. That's my thing. Like, my dad's a Steelers fan, and he's almost like a Philadelphia style. Like, I've kind of converted him to the Eagles a little bit, but he has the patience level of me where, like, he was ready to get rid of Tomlin 3 or 4 years ago. I just, the thing with Tomlin, like, that's one guy I don't understand. Like, they can say he's a player's coach and the players love play. No one gets the players going like him. Whatever, he doesn't, like. How good is he? That, like, and everybody blast me for that years ago. Oh, he's winning season every year. Stop. Criticizing him, criticize the GM, but it's the same. It's rinse repeat every year. I compare it to Penn State because Franklin's been the common denominator there. They've brought in this coordinator, that coordinator, this coordinator, that coordinator. I mean, it's just rotating chairs of coordinators, offensive and defense. Same thing with the Steelers. I mean, they've rotated through how many offensive guys, defensive guys. Tomlin's a common denominator, and even like he got that one Super Bowl with. To me, it was Cowher's team. Honestly, it was. I mean, I give him credit; he got it done. But I mean, they got beat every year after that in the playoff. Like, they never went back, or they lost one after that or something like that. Yeah, they won one and then they lost one. But he got waxed by the Patriots almost every time. And I get it; they were the dynasty Patriots, but like, you couldn't beat them once. You couldn't get through that gauntlet. If I'm a Steelers fan, I'm like, what are we doing? Like, we're turning our tires and going nowhere. And the whole Tomlin thing, he might be some great coach. We'll let him go prove it somewhere else. Cause like, it's been we're talking like a decade now of nothing. Like, literally, like, going to the playoffs and losing there's fans out there. There's Penn State fans out there that are like, oh man, we made it to the Final Four. It's like, and they could do that the next 10 years and be happy with that. I don't understand why, because it's a results-based business. It's not like, going to a 9-to-5 job, and if you do good enough, you won't lose your job. This is like, you win or you don't. Like, there's teams out there that'll pull the. I mean, the Eagles wanted to fire Sirianni, last year when they fell apart, and he went to the Super Bowl the year before. And the Steelers, I know they do things differently, but when is it like, okay, I just don't understand the hype around Mike Tomlin. Like, it's just, how good is he if he gets. This is like, it's the same thing every year. It doesn't change. Like, you could bring in different coaches, same result. Different players, same result. Like, that doesn't prove anything to me. If anything, he can get you better than average. That's it. He's good for that.
Like, I think what it comes down to is, like, what does ownership consider a success, right? You get that one,
yeah,
you might get a home playoff game. Like, what's that? Is that success? Most teams would take that, right? I'll bet you if you're Jacksonville Jaguars fan, they'd be like, yeah, we'll take that.
Right. I would think Pittsburgh, Dallas, San Francisco, like you talk about, like Green Bay, like there's cornerstone franchises.
There's teams that and fan bases that I think would expect more. Like Dallas, look at that train wreck. Like, we hack on Pittsburgh all day just because like proximity to you. But if you want to talk about a train wreck who hasn't done anything in America's team, that's an absolute disaster. If you want to, like, the biggest disaster in football, and I don't think it's close because of the fan base and the ownership and how much press they get and everything else. The biggest train wreck in football isn't the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's not the Chicago Bears. It's not anybody but the Dallas Cowboys. That's the biggest wreck that there is, and it's not close. And nobody talks about how much of a wreck it is.
And maybe, like, because in the era that at least I can speak of that I grew up, like, I don't have that extreme hatred for him, even though I probably should, being an Eagles fan. It's because they don't fear, like, Ohio State. I hate them because they're gonna, like, very low chance.
They're good.
Yeah, like it's like we're trying to knock them off their peg, and we can't. The Dallas, like, I never fear them. It's never like, okay,
and that's what I'm getting at, Aaron. They are so irrelevant in one of the biggest markets that there is, and they are irrelevant because how bad they are, and it's just whatever. That's just how they do things now.
Oh, like, and you speak of ownership, like, that's exhibit A of bad ownership. Like, it's crazy because I mean they draft pretty well, and Jerry Jones likes to pat himself on the back. I draft all these guys. He has a knack for drafting good. Like he gets players. Like they always have guys. Like you never look at their team and like, oh, that team sucks from a roster standpoint.
They get free agents. The building's full. Like
Yeah, like they
whatever.
have all the recipes there to win. It's just I almost think it's either these guys go in there and they're like, oh man, we're living large here in Dallas. Like, it's the amenities they probably have. It's almost like the Yankees of I mean, I don't want to say that, because the Yankees have more success than Dallas does, but it's as of recently, but it's I almost think I wonder if you get in there and I'm not saying winning isn't everything, but those guys kind of live luxuriously compared to like you probably go to Green Bay and they're hitting those bags on the field that are, minus 10 degrees. And like, it's like everything's old school and like Dallas, you go there, there's hot tubs, there's probably strippers, like God only knows, right? Like you're walking into there. Like I just feel like there's so much.
They're all
luxury.
treated like gods everywhere, but there's other levels for sure.
Yeah, it's luxurious. It's not like oh, it's winning or else. Like there's so many more things you can be distracted by, and then you got Jerry Jones like just thinking he probably walks in to their meeting and tells the coach to shut up, and then he starts. It's just like it's a mess. Like he runs the whole asylum, and like he doesn't run it well, and he thinks he's like a genius, like or at least he talks like he's the smartest guy to ever live. So I just think their ownership's all like, and then when his son takes over, I don't expect it to be that much better, or if it'll ever be. But I just they have the recipe, but it's almost like Jerry Jones is like the sabotager of the whole thing, in my opinion.
Like back in the 90s and in the 80s, also obviously you weren't kicking around, but like in the 90s when they were winning every year and Aikman and Emmett Smith, like that's a long time ago, and haven't done a thing since. That's 30 plus years, man, and like irrelevant. And like America's team and the like Jim calls them, it's a rating, not a logo, the 1-stars, and that's what they are. And it's just. And how everybody talks about the Steelers got to make a change, and this team's got to make a change, and this team's doing this. And you look at the Dallas, and they're like, no one even talks about them. Like to be that irrelevant.
And that's the thing too. Like they do. I mean, they cycle through coaches more than Pittsburgh. They cycle through coaches more than some other than Baltimore, for example. But it's almost like the coach isn't really like to me. Watching, I mean, this is from a far away. I don't know how they run things, but the coach is a yes man. Like, and it's like whatever Jerry Jones, like if Jerry Jones says on Friday night meeting, we're going to run the ball 80% of the time on Sunday, that coach is like, okay, yes, sir. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen some other places, but I think there, especially, it's like, it's Jerry's team. Like he talks to the media after they lose. He's the only owner that will come out and like, he'll have a press conference instead. Like that takes precedent over the players, the coach, like, and even this new guy, I was watching some of that press conference, and like Jerry Jones is running the whole thing. It's just like we're not even talking to the coach. It doesn't really matter. It's just
they aren't winning next year, right? Nope. They aren't.
Yeah. No,
like it's just crazy. Let's get to prediction time and get us out of here. What's first off? Like it's only Tuesday, so you're probably not too amped up. You don't not crapping your pants yet or anything. That'll come Friday probably when, but. Like you're an Eagles guy, obviously, so I would assume you're going to. If you're not picking your own team to win, then there's something wrong there. Although I wasn't picking to beat the Dodgers, I was hopeful, but yeah, cautious optimism, I guess. What's your take? Who's going to win? What's your thoughts?
I do think the Eagles. I mean, I'm worried that this whole like narrative with the three-peat that scares me a little bit, just because like I think the NFL might want to see that, but. I can't pick against my team. I think the Eagles defense will do enough, which, like I said, 2 years ago, they couldn't do much of anything. So I think it's going to come down to some like very few plays, like you said. I think it's relatively high scoring. I think it's like a 35-38 game. I think the Eagles win.
I think the Chiefs have been kind of tiptoeing through this season a lot, getting some calls, and whether you believe it or not, like they've been getting calls that aren't even conspiracy calls. You're like, oh Jesus, like they're just like, why would you call that? And there was some subjective calls, like they're all but you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. But I think if they were ever going to, in all the ones they've been to in the past X amount of years, I think that the Chiefs are more likely that they're right for the picking this year. They've been tiptoeing through a 15-2 season, tiptoeing through the playoffs a little bit. If they're ever going to lose one, and this is the year, and I think this, like you said, Hurts and Saquon Barkley are gonna get it done. I'm taking the Eagles. I think it's gonna be a high scoring. I think it's gonna be even high scoring than that. I think both these quarterbacks are going to find a way to score a lot of points. And but it's going to come down to Barkley winning this one for the Eagles, and I'm like 45-42. It's going to be just nonstop scoring. I think,
yeah, that's fun. It is fun sometimes seeing that. Those low scoring games are a little drag. But
not a little bit of a drag. The old smash mouth football 6-3. No one likes that. Nobody likes that. That's smash mouth football. It's the frozen. Fuck off with the frozen tundra. There it is. 8:37, 8:27, first F-bomb of the day, but what that happens sometimes. But
you made it in almost an hour there. That's
almost. I can't believe it. For me, I don't think I swore at home yet. Well, I was swearing this morning shoveling snow, but yeah. Anyways, Aaron, that was good. First morning shift to the 1420 Sports Bar. How was it?
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I'm glad. Like I said, I'm glad you're patient with me. I'm trying. Every Tuesday I can be here. I'll be here. I have a weird schedule, but Tuesday mornings works. I don't know if you saw not my first pick or probably yours, the Kendrick Lamar for the halftime this year. That's a little, not that matters a ton, but it's not.
Funny story, because I'm old and live in Canada, and I don't know for people listening on podcasts, not watching on YouTube, and this isn't anything. I'm white. I don't know who this guy is. And he was winning Grammys the other night, and I was like asking my wife, because she follows music a lot more than I do, and I'm like, I don't know. I've never heard this guy sing. I don't know who he is, and I guess. I guess, like, I don't know.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, like me being a little younger than you, I have some hip hop, I like some hip hop stuff, but he's very I don't know, it takes a certain taste to like, in my opinion. I mean, there's a lot of people that like him. If he's talented, that's fine. It's just a lot of people. This is one of those, like, you either like him or you couldn't care less. From my personal vantage point. Like, your generation is like, there might be 2% people that care. I'm just being honest. Like,
I'd say that I might do a preview over maybe on Friday night or Saturday afternoon. I might put on some Kendrick Lamar to see what I'm getting myself into. But I would bet on the under on that one.
Some live react. Maybe you do live reaction music.
Live reaction halftime show. So see Brent's thoughts when he's 15 beer deep watching the Super Bowl. Brent's thoughts on if that will be a ratings juggernaut. I'm not sure what would be, but yeah. Anyways, well, Aaron, thanks for doing this. We'll get back at her, and on next Tuesday morning we'll have our post Super Bowl reaction, or I don't know if we're allowed to say that, but post big game reaction. And good luck with your team this weekend.
Yeah, appreciate it. And before long, we'll be talking baseball, so that's always good.
It's right around the corner. Yeah. Speaking of baseball, I should get to work, but whatever. One of those things. All right, man. We will talk to you again on next Tuesday. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.